Hi, boys and girls. Thank you for joining me for writing today. Here's our goal. I can write a story with a beginning, middle, and end. So you're going to need your December writing journal. And skip ahead till you find this page. Write a story about what you would do if you had an elf for a friend and you just read a book about an elf. So here are some things you can think about as you write today. These are also on the It's Learning page. Things to think about as you write. Where does your story take place? What would the setting be for your story? How do you meet your elf? What things do you do with your elf? And how does the story end? There are other things you can think about too, but that kind of gets you going a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and model for you today. So I think my story is going to take place at my house, and it's going to be in December. So I'm going to start by saying one December day, and I uppercase December because it's a month. One December day, comma. I'll tell you what I was doing. I was decorating my Christmas tree. Decorating. I'm kind of breaking that into syllables to help me spell it. My. And then I uppercase Christmas because it's a holiday, isn't it? Christmas tree. When I heard rustling, like that rustling noise. One December day, I was decorating my tree when I heard a rustling sound. Period. What do you think it was? It was the elf, wasn't it? So I'm going to say, I looked in the branches of the tree, right? And what do you guys think I saw? I saw a little elf smiling at me. I looked in the branches of the tree and saw a little elf smiling at me. Period. I'm going to tell you a little bit what the elf looks like because those are kind of interesting details when you write. So it was a boy elf. So I'm going to say he had red hair. I'm making a list, kind of describing him. He had red hair, brown eyes, and I kind of want to give you an idea of how big this elf is. So I'm going to say he was only 1 foot tall. That's like the size of a ruler. So he had red hair, comma, brown eyes, comma, and was only 1 foot tall. Okay, I haven't read over all of this. Let's read over it and see if it's sounding okay. One December day, I was decorating my Christmas tree when I heard a rustling sound. I looked in the branches of the tree and saw a little elf smiling at me. He had red hair, brown eyes, and was only 1 foot tall. So I'm going to name him. So I'm going to say I named him. Guess what I named him? I named him Mr. Elf. And I uppercase Mr., put a period, that's his title, and I uppercase Elf because that's part of his name. Okay, so now I need to talk about what we do together because that was one of the things, right? We talk about where the story takes place. I talked about how I met my elf. I even went on and kind of described my elf some. And now I'm going to talk about the things that I do with my elf. So I'm going to say, I want Mr. Elf to go in the kitchen with me. So let's say Mr. Elf led me to the kitchen. What do you think we did there? We're going to bake something, right? So what would I probably bake at Christmas time? How about some Christmas cookies? I think that would be interesting. So Mr. Elf led me to the kitchen and taught me how to bake Christmas cookies, not just any kind of cookies, but Christmas cookies, because after all, he is a Christmas elf, right? So uppercase Christmas because it's a holiday. And I'm going to move over to my next page here and write cookies. And they were special because they had red sprinkles on them. So he led me to the kitchen and taught me how to bake Christmas cookies with red sprinkles on them. Sound good? Okay, let's see. What should we do next? He's an elf. I bet he knows how to wrap presents. That'd be kind of a fun thing to talk about. So I want to say that happened next. So let me use the word then to kind of transition into that. So then he wrapped, I'm going to say all of the Christmas presents. All of the Christmas presents. And I want it to seem a little magical, so I'm going to say that he didn't even need scissors or tape. That's pretty cool. He just kind of magically could do it. So I'm going to say he didn't even use scissors or tape. Period. Okay, I like to always kind of give 3 details or 3 things that happen. So first we baked Christmas cookies, right? Then he wrapped all the Christmas presents. I want him to do one more thing. Maybe he could clean my whole house. I would really, really like that. So let me lead into that. Let me say maybe he also cleaned my whole house! Exclamation point. Oh, you know what? I'm not going to put that yet because I want him to also shovel the snow outside. That'd help Mr. Olson out because he shovels the snow usually, and Bryce. He also cleaned my whole house and shoveled the snow outside. Okay. I'm not done yet because I have to end my story. But let's see what we have so far. One December day, I was decorating my Christmas tree when I heard a rustling sound. I looked in the branches of the tree and saw a little elf smiling at me. He had red hair, brown eyes, and was only 1 foot tall. I named him Mr. Elf. Mr. Elf led me to the kitchen and taught me how to bake Christmas cookies with red sprinkles on them. Then he wrapped all of the Christmas presents. He didn't even use scissors or tape. I think I'm going to put an exclamation point there. He also cleaned my whole house and shoveled the snow outside. So it's time for the story to end. So I definitely want to tell the elf thank you because, boy, this is really nice. Mr. Elf is pretty sweet. So I'm going to say I thanked him. And he's going to stay with me for a little while. So I'm going to say I thanked him, and he said he would stay. You know how long? Until Christmas Eve. I thanked him, and he said he would stay until Christmas Eve. That's a holiday, so we uppercase Christmas, and Eve is part of that holiday. Christmas, then I uppercase Eve. And then I'm going to kind of have my ending sentence to end everything. I'm going to say, I was so happy to have Mr. Elf, uppercase Mr. Elf, stay with me. Period. And that's the end of my story. So let's see. My goal was I can write a story with a beginning, middle, end. I think that I did that. I thought about where my story takes place, how I met my elf, the things we did together, and then how the story ended. So let's read it one more time. This time, clap the periods for me, the ending marks, if you would. One December day, I was decorating my Christmas tree when I heard a rustling sound. I looked in the branches of the tree and saw a little elf smiling at me. He had red hair, brown eyes, and was only 1 foot tall. I named him Mr. Elf. Mr. Elf led me to the kitchen and taught me how to bake Christmas cookies with red sprinkles on them. Then he wrapped all of the Christmas presents. He didn't even use scissors or tape. He also cleaned my whole house and shoveled the snow outside. I thanked him, and he said he would stay until Christmas Eve. I was so happy to have Mr. Elf stay with me. Okay, as I was reading over this, I felt like this period needed to be moved back a little bit so that you could tell that was the end of one sentence and the start of another one. And I thanked him, comma, and he said he would stay until Christmas Eve. Because he said he would stay until Christmas Eve, that can be a sentence by itself. So I've joined two sentences with and. So I need a lazy comma there. Okay, well, I hope you enjoy writing about what you would do with an elf. Remember, we're saying write a story about what you would do if you had an elf for a friend. So try to think of things that are different than what I said in my story so that you have your own special, unique story. Thank you for joining me.